How about this? Do what I say, not what I have entirely failed to do after 5 months of effort because something broke. This 58 keys, it's about using old technology or older technology, things that you have around you anyway, and getting some more use out of them. So, last year, for example, I had an old iPad and I made this dashboard. Stuck it up on the wall, put some useful information on it. It was remarkably good for me. There were some things I truly wanted it to do that I couldn't quite manage to achieve though, and at some point I realised I'm still using my last Mac. I have this Office Mac, I have a MacBook Pro. I use those two as the main working machines. But my previous Mac, my old slow Intel Mac, it's still over there, isn't it? So it's right there, it's right here. Join the dots. I could use that to create a dashboard that runs on a Mac and with all the other technology that a Mac brings, all the other options, all the other apps I can have for it. And especially, I was so pleased when I thought of this, about 2 years ago, possibly even 3, I reviewed one of those portable flat screen monitors you get, and that was over there. It was just lying around the office. I'd use it every now and again for the odd thing, but there's a bit spare, really. And all of that led me to this. Do I look smug or what? Because that seemed pretty good to me, pretty good. There were still a couple of things I wanted to get just right before I showed it to you, but yeah, then this happened. The monitor broke. Now, I hadn't bought the monitor. I didn't buy a monitor especially for this dashboard. The whole point was to use what did I already have around. But then I suppose I didn't have that around anymore. So, how have you been? Hello, I'm William Gallagher and this is 58 Keys, which, as always, it's for writers like you and me who use and who write on Macs and iPhones and iPads. Do subscribe because, there's always so much to talk about and apparently with a broken monitor, nothing else to do. Listen, dashboards like this, they're just so useful. And just because I don't happen to have a working spare monitor, obviously doesn't mean you don't. So I would like, please, to show you 3 things that I think make dashboards useful, or would have done. And there are lots of others, but I particularly like these 3 for me and for us as writers. Plus, I can actually show you the 3, and I can even show you how far I got with all of them because I can do this. Well, kind of, right. This is my Office Mac screen, and that could be an app called Screens, which I covered it in 58 Keys before. It lets you remotely log in to Macs wherever you are in the world, your Mac, anywhere you like. So what this could be doing is showing you on here the screen of the Mac that's over there. It's like half a meter away. But even though the monitor's broken, I can show the screen on here. I could, and I did, and I will do. What you're seeing there, that's actually a screen grab of Screens doing what it does. It was about 2 minutes ago I took that. I had to take it as a screen grab of it though and stop the actual remote control because my calendar there and some of the tasks and things, well, they're things to do with other people, right? So I had to blur their bits out. You understand? But still, when I took that screen grab, or actually whenever I want, I'll run that Screens app, I can look at my spare Mac through here, right? So screen here, Mac over there, monitor over here. The thing, all I can see now when I look over there is where the wallpaper got torn as I was trying to mount the screen, and that is making me twitchy. But to show you, I can have it here, and let's be clear, it is just to show you. I can't have this running all the time because what's brilliant about a thing like this that I can just glance over to and see, it's a bit much. Even on my massive screen here, it's a bit much taking up my Mac's monitor. And this is the key thing about a dashboard, any dashboard, any way you do it, glanceability. It's up to you what you want to glance at on your dashboard. And actually, although I don't do this, many people control their smart homes through this. They show the front door cameras and things like that. That's very nice, but writers, I want something to do with our writing, with our work, or to help our work. So in my case, my 3 things that I'm recommending are clocks, calendars, and kind of to-do tasks bit together, and charts. Yeah, so that's clock, calendar, thing. Yeah, charts are actually the thing that made me switch in the end from an iPad dashboard to a Mac. Well, okay, there was also the fact that the iPad kept breaking. I'm not having a lot good time with technology today, am I? Clocks. Let's do this first because it sounds simple and actually it is simple, but also it's brilliant. And let's face it, the second you saw that studio clock, you wanted it too. That's the name of the app, Studio Clock. And the free version gives you this kind of thing in a kind of pinkish colour. And the second dots, well, in the free version, they kind of fly around whizzily. And I had to have red, though. I had to have red and I had to have the dots steadily walking around the dial because that's actually the very closest I've ever seen to the kind of digital clocks you get at BBC Radio. I used to work at BBC Radio. It makes me happy just seeing that. But it could have made me a bit happier. For when I was using the iPad, on that iPad I had like a straight digital clock showing the time here in England, where I am, but I also had a much larger one showing me New York time, and that was extremely useful. That was what I glanced at most often during a day when I was writing for an American company. I write a lot for a US firm and it's centered on Eastern or New York time. What I really, really want now is to have two copies of that studio clock, one for each time zone. Then I could have them in different colours and everything. It'd be great, but it isn't because I can't, and nothing I seem to be able to do about it. Studio Clock, this one app, you can only run it once. You can only show one clock. It only shows the max current time. Yeah, I know what you're thinking. I could change the time on that Mac. It's just a spare Mac in the corner. It set it to US time. Why not? But then I couldn't also have UK time on that screen. There are other options, and I believe I've tried out every Mac clock app possible, and you will be amazed. I was startled how many of them there are. But almost all of them, very, very nearly all of them, will only show you the same time that your Mac does, so your current time zone that you're in. There are a couple that won't, a couple of world clocks, but for me, for this, well, all the ones I found, unless you know better, were worthless really, because all of them were like these tiny little dials, which is great when the screen's right in front of you, but it's no point for glancing across a room. And actually, quite a few of them were just in the menu bar. Yeah, no. I actually started trying to learn how to program Mac apps in Swift. That's how deep I got into this. Could explain why it took 5 months to not finish it. No. In comparison to clocks, calendars and to-do tasks, well, they were actually really easy. As it happens, I use a subscription calendar app called Fantastical, which is excellent for so many reasons, or I wouldn't subscribe to it. But one of them is this column right here. Fantastical began life a very long time ago as just a menu bar app. Click on the icon in the menu way at the top there, and all of that would drop down. It was a full calendar app with all of Fantastical's superb functions. Now later on, it became like a regular Mac app. You can have it full screen, just like a normal calendar app. And I do use that a lot. But the company never stopped adding to this menu bar version. And you can detach the menu bar version from the menu bar. So I launch Fantastical on the spare Mac. I call up the menu bar version. I drag it off and I position it just so. I mean, here from my desk, it's easy enough for me to see what the date is. I can see what's coming up. I mean, I can't see much detail just across the room, but it's enough. Very similarly, this thing here, I use OmniFocus on all of my devices. It's my to-do app of choice, my beloved to-do app of choice. So since it's on everything I've got, it's there on the spare Mac too. And what I did in this case was I arranged the columns just so. I turned it to dark mode so it looked a bit snazzy. And I created a perspective. Perspectives are this thing, I think, unique to OmniFocus, where you can say, I just want to see the tasks that are due today, are all phone calls, say, and are all to do with the Writers Guild and my novel. Nothing else. OmniFocus goes, okay, just shows you that. Now, I am never going to lean over to the wall to tick a task as done, but like I say, this is the to-do app I live on all of my devices. So I finish a task, I tick it as done on my iPhone, my iPad, the Office Mac, anywhere, and it automatically updates on that dashboard spare Mac too. Love it. So really what I see every day, what I could see every day while this was working, was a steadily shrinking list of tasks. Not shrinking it fast enough, but steadily shrinking. And I really like that. There's something about seeing progress. I don't know, when you're on your own writing in an office and it's just you, something that shows you are getting things done, that helps me. And this leads me to the third and last point of my failed dashboard. Charts. This here is a chart that was created in numbers, and actually it doesn't matter what it's a chart of because I didn't get that far. What I've got there is a numbers table. That's the table is off the side of the screen. I've kind of shrunk the window to hide the actual table and just shown the chart that you can draw from it. I positioned the window so it's just showing me what I wanted to see. I got to the point where I was actually worrying about the labels on the axes. I couldn't seem to be getting that to work out the way I expected, but you know, kind of other things took over, like the monitor breaking and things. I would have fixed that. I would have got to it. Hey? And actually, one really key thing was working out much better than I expected, and it's this. Back on my old iPad dashboard, right, I had these charts. This one here, this was the number of subscribers to 58 Keys on YouTube compared to what was my target for 2022. I truly don't know why I even had a target, because this is just you and me talking together, but I did. And figuring out numbers is always easier than writing. So I had those, and I liked seeing that column grow, especially when I beat the target. That was nice. This other chart, I've got it here, but it's also on the iPad as well. Several different things. That one would grow many times a day. Small caveat to that, but my most important projects were all listed there as current columns. If it was a script, the column would show the page count I was on. If it was something that could actually estimate better, well, I might have it listed as a percentage, that kind of thing. Altogether, just a little chart, a little measure, and they made me think I was getting somewhere because the numbers kept going up. I would glance over to check the time in New York because I had a meeting or appointment or whatever to zoom into. I'd see tomorrow's events on the calendar. I'd also see these columns growing. Except, here's the caveat. I did look at them all day because I would glance at the clock and I would see them and it would help. But updating them, it was stupid, really. On the iPad, I couldn't use numbers. They were in Google spreadsheet instead. And with the Mac here, the benefit is that I can have different apps as a to-do app, charts, all these. Get whatever I want, the best of whatever I need, arrange it and stuff. On the iPad, I had to run one app, one specific dashboard app, and it would let me fit certain things into it, but it wouldn't let me include charts from numbers. It would let me include charts from Google. And I could not get that sheet to update automatically. I would keep the sheet on iCloud Drive, right? So that meant from any of my other devices, I could open the sheet, change a number, save it, and then after a few minutes, the chart would update on the dashboard. So, okay, I ended up doing that a lot every day just to keep the numbers right and things, but that's hardly the point. You want it to be automatic, don't you? But then when I switched to numbers, and I switched to the Mac and numbers rather, then I could do it. Except I didn't. Well, I was so close. I've tried it out, experimented with shortcuts. I saw it could work. I could create a shortcut. I did create a shortcut. It wasn't very polished, wasn't very finished, but it proved the point to me that I on my iPhone I could tap in a number. What page? I've just finished the script I'm on for today. What page am I on? Tap the number in and know that that number was going to go out and appear in the chart. I mean, yeah, didn't finish it, but it was clearly working. It was going to be easy, and I wanted to concentrate on the clock. That was taking a lot of time finding different world clocks, and charts easy to fix later, except that's when the monitor bust. Two more quick things. I just briefly mentioned, I think, dark mode in OmniFocus. I don't happen to like the Mac's dark mode all that much, but for a dashboard, it's great. The lines between the different apps kind of vanish if it's all dark, and I like that. It's like it's one thing to look at. So, yes, I did it in OmniFocus, but I also set dark mode in system settings, and I had the dock and the menu bar disappear so that all you saw was the clock, the calendar, and so on. You can use system settings, or what used to be called system preferences, to hide these things, the dock and the menu, but leave that till last. okay, because I did it early on, and then I was forever struggling to reposition Windows because not all apps remembered where they were last time. So I'd open it up, I'd have to find a menu management, all sorts of things that needed the menu bar and the dock back for. Plus, I was using this spare Mac for other things that I use, otherwise you wouldn't have it on. But sometimes I don't want it on. End of the day, I don't need a dashboard. I have certain things on it. I have a Plex video server on there. Don't tend to use it on the weekends. That means I shut the Mac down, and that means then I have to start it back up again later. And I think very probably the very, very last thing I was going to do before showing you my whizzy working Mac dashboard was to set it up with Keyboard Maestro. This is the god of all Mac apps. And I would have used it so that I could push one button, have all of the apps that I want open for the dashboard, have Keyboard Maestro reposition all of the windows for me every time, then hide the dock, then hide the menu bar, and that would have been it. Would that not have been great? And instead I've got a hole in the wallpaper. I should say, I mentioned that many people use dashboards to control their smart homes. I don't have smart thermostats, but I do have smart HomeKit cameras. They're battery powered actually, so I don't want to be displaying them all the time on a dashboard screen, but at one point last December, using this one on the Mac, I was able to open up the view from the camera in my porch and see when deliveries arrived, Christmas presents arriving. That was pretty good. I liked that too. But I really like all of this, and it's amazing how many often I turn to the blank wall during the day. I don't like all of this stuff enough to go buy a replacement monitor, except I am really tempted. I do think that tear in the wallpaper is going to drive me spare hourly. So I admit it, actually, this morning I looked into buying a replacement monitor. I'm not going to do it. I'm not. But as it happens, you can get very large monitors for a lot less than... Stop me. Okay, stop me. Yeah. We better say that's it for this edition of 58 Keys. Thank you very much for watching. Now, take care of yourself. Write more. Always important to write more. And I'll see you soon.